Welcome to episode 10 of Geno's Guys. As always, I'm your host, Connor, joined by Matt and Andrew, and we are Geno's Guys. And we made it to episode 10, double digits, a very celebratory episode and a very fun one because the Huskies have their toughest road test of the season so far. We're going to be previewing a tough game at number 8 Notre Dame. The number 2 Huskies are going to Notre Dame. Before that, we'll talk quickly about that Louisville game, the Louisville destruction in Brooklyn, an 85-52 win. Sarah Strong was the star. AC Fudd was the star until she wasn't. We'll talk about that. Paige Bueckers, not her best game, but they didn't need her to have her best game to still beat a top 25 opponent by 30 plus points. So we'll start right there. We're not going to go too deep into this. I want to focus on Notre Dame. But what was your guys' thoughts on that? Because I thought this game would be at least a little close, but the Huskies just dominated like they've done all season long.
I mean, Sarah Strong's the best person or the best player in the world. I mean, you look at her style of play versus any other freshman in the country, and it's just a huge difference. Obviously, Connor, so we didn't have Paige's best game, but we didn't even need it. Even by 33, we're up by probably 100 at some point there. I mean, this was a top 25 team, too. This wasn't Holy Cross or FDU. This was a top 25 team, and we just we just made it look as easy as possible. But that's not going to be the case here in Notre Dame. I can't wait to talk about that because that's going to be an insane game.
Yeah, that definitely surprised me. I think I speak for everyone when I say it surprised everybody. I mean, top 25 team doesn't typically go down by 40 points and lose in that big a fashion. But this UConn team overall is just the deepest, and I'm not even sure how long. But this Sarah Strong and Paige Bueckers combination, we're looking at one of the better combinations in the maybe ever. I'm not sure, what level this is going to get to, but if you're blowing teams out like this, then I don't know who's going to stop them.
Yeah, I don't want to start a whole debate here, but it's definitely a topic that's probably more realistic than you guys think. Is Sarah Strong the best player on this team? Like I said, we're not going to get into that debate because I don't want to have this be an hour-long episode, and you guys in the comments are going to be going one way, going another. We love the comments, but I don't want to really do that for this one. But AC Fudd, like I mentioned, she was balling out. She had 18 points in the starting lineup in 18 minutes until she went down with an injury. I believe it's a knee sprain, if I'm not mistaken. She's going to miss. Geno said she's going to miss the rest of the week, which is this Notre Dame game, and there's another game on Sunday opening Big East play against Georgetown. So right when she got back, right when it feels like the Huskies are kind of escaping that injury bug, getting players back, AZ goes down for hopefully not too long, but definitely long enough that it'll make an impact. How do you guys think they're going to approach this Notre Dame game without her? Because she's obviously, you didn't have her in the beginning of the year for some of your tough games, like that North Carolina game, you were fine. But Notre Dame isn't North Carolina. They're a premier program that's was ranked in the top 5, but has fallen after some tough losses. But yeah, what do you guys think the Huskies are going to do?
I think it's going to look a little bit similar to the beginning of the season without her, but at the same time, I do think that KK Arnold is going to be a larger part of it. She's looked pretty solid off the bench. She sort of lost her minutes to Caitlin Chen, but I think as the season progresses, KK Arnold's going to kind of come back into that backup facilitator role, especially if AZ does miss some time.
I mean, I don't think there's any real need to panic. If this was last year and we lost somebody, and Geno would probably have to tell someone that they need to be Superman. But with we've got so many good players on this team, it's just going to be the next person up. Whether that be Kaylin Chen or Ashlyn Shade or KK Arnold, just going to be somebody has to take AZ's spot and basically do what she did. So I'm not really necessarily worried. It definitely sucks because of her knee injury history, but I'm not too worried about this at all.
Yeah, I saw a stat and I just confirmed it to be true looking at box scores. This is the fourth straight year with Paige and AZ on the team together, and this is the fourth straight year they're playing Notre Dame, and they've never played Notre Dame together, both on the court at the same time. And it looked like finally we're gonna get that, but this past weekend AC goes down, so we won't get that. So it just goes to show how depleted we've been, the Huskies, by injuries the past few years, that we haven't had our two star players play against one of the star programs in the same game. But yeah, it's definitely a big loss. I agree with you guys. It's going to probably be a committee, probably go back to the same starting lineup as the beginning of the year, like you said, Matt. I expect a big game from Ashlyn Shade, honestly. She's a lady. I was about to say she's a guy, but that's going back to the men's show. She's a lady who can knock down 3 or 4 threes quickly and get going and really lead the offense, especially if Paige is struggling and Sarah Strong. We don't know how she's going to perform on the road against a top 10 team.
And I do see Geno's honesty about the injury as a good thing, mainly because him and her at the beginning of the year were kind of, going back and forth, not exactly giving any specific details about her injuries. I do take him saying about a week as a good thing, and I take him to be telling the truth. If anything, I expect her maybe to only miss one game. So I'm looking at this as, even though it's bad, as a positive because you need her back in the lineup as soon as possible.
Yeah, and after like we play Thursday, we play Sunday against Georgetown. There's a very quick turnaround. I believe Tuesday the 17th, we're playing Iowa State and Audi Crook. So that's basically 3 games in what, 5, 6 days. So I don't think they'll rush AZ back, but it also wouldn't surprise me if she misses all 3 of those games, seeing they're so tightly knit together on the schedule. It's kind of a weird way to schedule it with Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday. Usually you don't see that. Moving on, we haven't really talked about Notre Dame yet, the Fighting Irish. Like I said, they're ranked high. They lost some close games. What's your guys? I guess I'll start here. What's your guys' feeling going into this one, knowing it's a team that we've lost? We lost to last year. If I'm not mistaken, we lost to them the year before as well. Is this sign of the year the Huskies break through against the Fighting Irish?
It's a tough place to play. I mean, South Bend, Indiana is obviously a sports capital of the world, whether it be football or basketball or baseball or even college hockey. This Notre Dame's very prestigious in all of their sports, and it's a really tough place to play. So we've had terrible luck playing there. We did lose last year at home as well. That game kind of stunk, but that was due to one person pretty much, and it was Hannah Hidalgo. I mean, she's insane. I expect Paige to be guarding her, but she's on another level. Even though Notre Dame has a couple of bad losses, she's still been a bright star for them, and I think she's going to have a really, really good game against us. But I also think that this is kind of a situation where you let her go to work, you let her get whatever she wants, and just focus on making sure nobody else scores. I feel like that has to be the recipe for how you want to win this game.
Yeah, Notre Dame, their losses were in the Cayman Islands to TCU, who's now ranked, I believe, 12th as of the recording of this, and Utah, who's not a bad program either. But they're not games you expect at the time, number 3 ranked Fighting Irish to lose. Usually in women's basketball, you don't see too many upsets from lower teams to the higher seeds. But yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be it's a tough place to play. It's a place that we lost last time we played. Notre Dame, like you said, it's just a lot of history there with the football program, the basketball program on the women's side. It's just a historic women's program. I'm glad that we play this game essentially every year, and we're switching venues, like you said last year. We were in Connecticut, now we're in Notre Dame. But yeah, Hannah Hidalgo is a player you're certainly gonna have to watch out for. She's averaging, I believe, 24 points per game or something like that, which is near the top in the nation. They also have some other very talented players. Olivia Miles is averaging like 17, 6, and 6 as the true point guard, setting up Hidalgo. They have a player averaging a double double as well. So the Fighting Irish, they're gonna bring it. It's not gonna be an easy game. Moving on. This is, like I said, gonna be a shorter episode. We're gonna do matchups to watch, like head to head, and then players to watch for the Huskies. We'll start the matchups to watch. What's one positional matchup you're watching for? There's an obvious one in there. Wondering which one of you picks it. But what's your matchup to watch on Thursday night?
I'm going to take kind of the less obvious one. I'm going to go Olivia Miles and Caitlin Chen because I think that's who's going to be guarding her. Um, she's averaging almost 7 assists a game, so most of those are most likely to Hannah Hidalgo. But either way, she's got to. I feel like Caitlin Chen is going to be like Diarra in the preview we just talked about, where she's not needing to score and she just needs to defend and watch Olivia Miles, like literally, like I just said with Diarra, everywhere she goes. So I'm gonna pick that one as my matchup to watch.
And I'm gonna go for the more fun Broadway obvious one, which is Paige versus Hidalgo. I mean, it's impossible not to be, excited for that matchup. I want to see Paige, play like herself. I feel like throughout the whole season, she, hasn't necessarily had to be that 20, 25 a game scorer. Instead, she's kind of just, going along with the ride like we want her to. But I feel like in a game like this against such a prominent player, I feel like you need to have a game, and I feel like you kind of need to bring your team over the top there. If Paige could drop 25 or 30, that would just be amazing, especially against a top 10 ranked opponent. So I'm gonna roll with Paige and Hidalgo here. Hopefully Paige can get the better of Hidalgo.
And I'm going to go in the front court. I'm going to look at Notre Dame. They have a player, Kate Koval, a freshman from Ukraine. She's averaging 8.3 points, 8.3 rebounds, nearly a double double. Curious to see how Sarah Strong does against her. Also, Geno Alfie, because Koval is 6'5", and Strong's going to be starting against her at 6'2", I believe, 6'3". So it's definitely a size difference there. Koval also, I'm looking at her game log here, she's had a game with 14 points, 16 rebounds, and the game after that, she followed up with 11 points and 19 rebounds. So she's clearly a glass cleaner. She hasn't had great rebounding numbers against some better teams as of late, so hopefully that looks trend will continue. But I'm really curious to see how strong Anel Alfie kind of counter her. Moving on now to the players to watch for the Huskies. This is a little easier because we're talking about the players we know. Who you guys got for your players to watch?
I'm going to shift to the front court as well. I think Sarah Strong is the player to watch in this game. All the eyes, like I mentioned, are going to be on Paige and Hidalgo. And I think Sarah Strong might go a little bit under the radar this game. I think she might have a really good game, but it might be not be as notable just because of the backcourt matchups. And I think Sarah Strong, is slowly developing into one of the better players into the whole country. So if she can kind of put together another double-double performance or near triple-double performance against a top 10 ranked team, I think that kind of does wonders for her and really puts her on the map.
I'm going to go with Ashlyn Shade playing in her hometown state of Indiana. Kind of a homecoming game. I'm not sure where she's from, how close that is to Notre Dame. But either way, I think that she's going to help provide a lot, either if she starts or off the bench. But I think, like Connor said, she can hit threes and just go. So I think she's going to have double-digit points and be a huge part of this win in AZ's absence.
And I'm going to mix it up a little here. I'm going to go Morgan Shelley. We haven't really talked too much about her on this podcast, but after AZ went down, she kind of stepped up, played a little more minutes than she probably would. She played 15 minutes against Louisville, scored 4 points. She looked very confident out there against the Cardinals. I'm curious to see what her role is going to be in this one because I imagine this is would if you're ever going to shorten your rotation, this is the game that Geno would. But how much can you really shorten it, or how many people can you disclude with AZ foot out? I feel like Chelly's going to work her way into some minutes, even if it's just 8 to 10 minutes. I want to see her impacts. I feel like she's going to give it her all when she gets in there. So yeah, Morgan Shelley, kind of a curveball there is my player to watch. And with that, I think that'll do it here for episode 10. Like I said, the double digits is a big milestone for Geno's guys. You guys got anything else before we wrap up? I don't either. So next time you hear from us, we'll definitely be recapping this game because it's a really, really interesting matchup. A top 10 matchup, number 2 versus number 8. Easily could be a top 5 matchup if Notre Dame didn't fall a couple weeks ago. But yeah, we'll recap this one. Probably preview Georgetown. I'm actually not going to make any promises. This is kind of a short turnaround. But if you hear from us, you hear from us. If you don't, you don't. I hate to say that, but that's kind of how it is. But yeah, hopefully you'll hear from us after this game. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.